Good morning, fellow hobbyists, to episode 389 of Hobby Hotline, the sports card show where you can be a part of the show. All you got to do is click that link that I put already in the chat, and you can be up here on screen and interacting in the conversation. So with me this week, Chris Harris, welcome to the show. And
hello, everybody.
So, what do you got going on, Chris, in your world?
I'm still recovering from my surgery on my arm, my second. So, go see the doctor on Monday, see how it's going on, how it's progressing. There's actually a card show down here this weekend in Rehoboth Beach. And I can't recall the last time there was a card show in this part of Delaware in years. So I don't know what to expect. It's probably going to be like most card shows these days, at least a third Pokemon. So, but still, it's advertised as like a 130 table show. So even if a third of them are Pokemon, that's about 80 to 90 tables of sports cards. So I'll look forward to that tomorrow. So
sounds good. How about you, Rich? What's going on?
Well, last weekend I ran my small, fun 20-table synagogue show. By one person, we drew more people than we'd ever drawn to the building before. And I know because I sit and I keep track of the admissions. And when I say admissions, it's a suggested donation. So we don't insist you pay. If you want to say, I want to come in, we let you in. But in a small little 20-table show, we had very little TCG stuff. But I had at least 3 of my vendors crack 4 figures in sales. And one sold an Ernie Banks rookie. I know another did a $3,000 deal. I know the other one I'm talking about did $2,000 in the first 2 hours. I never asked him again how much he did, except on Monday morning, because being in the synagogue, we can't do Saturday. So Monday morning, somebody brought him an 86.7 through 89.90 Flair sets, and he paid cash for them. So he obviously did quite well because buying Flair sets are Flair sets. You know, those first couple have some pretty decent cards in them. And next week I'll go to a 300 table show and we were talking in the green room, the promoter opened up part of the show because he wasn't selling all the sports tables either. So there was a corner in the room he wasn't using. So he added 100 TCG tables, and we were trading emails back and forth like, hey, it's your show and I get the business decision. You're bringing in more money and it's you need to bring it in. And I get that 100%. He says, what you wouldn't believe is I've actually sold a whole bunch more sports card tables because of bringing in the TCG people, which to me sounded counterintuitive, but I guess everybody has a different things. But I'm looking forward to that next weekend. And then, today my local card store, they're part of the waxed, I call it empire of somewhere 30 or give or take amount of stores. This is, since it's the last Saturday of the month, their company-wide trade night or trade afternoon at all their stores. So I will pop into one of their stores this afternoon.
All right. Sounds good. Myself here, Portland, Oregon, as a vintage collector, I have already started counting down the days to going to the National because I'm not a modern basketball collector, which is heavily influenced here with the Trailblazers being our only major team, or TCG dominates our pathetic little card shows. So, I do not have the availability for in-person experiences for what I'm collecting in this region. So it's time to say hi to the chat. I only host this once a month, but I see the same names almost every time I'm running this show. So I got to give shout outs to these folks in the chat here. We got Ruben of Confluence Sports Cards. Good morning. We got Baseball Card Curmudgeon, Matt Drew, Abel in Vegas. We got Laura. I can't read your last name. I need my reading glasses. Yank Me Card Steve. Howdy from Tucson. Foul Ball. Dan, Steel City DW. We got Chris C. Carl, all the way from Australia, is watching us again.
All right.
And Larry Gitlin. We got Jayhawker Vintage Cards. That's Mike out there. There we go. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing you as well at the National. So, I'm actually going to be rooming with Eddie's Cardboard Chaos this year. So, but first topic, the big news that is all over every channel as soon as it came out. So we've got to talk about, the 800-pound gorilla in our hobby that, whenever they do a big move, it rattles people across the board. And we're talking PSA now shutting down all of their value offerings. And now, what is it, $80, $85? It's the lowest you can get a card graded with them. Your thoughts, Chris, on this happening now?
Yeah, I think I read on Twitter that in one day this week, PSA received 450,000 cards. 450,000 cards in one day. And it's like, no wonder they can't keep up. I mean, I think there are two reasons for this. First of all, TCGs. The whole TCG hobby has kind of been late adopters of the concept of grading. They're kind of where we were at in sports cards maybe 25 or 30 years ago when in regards to grading. So everybody's going back. It's because with TCGs, people actually played with their cards back then. They didn't think of them as collectibles that needed to be protected and graded. And now people are going back in their old stashes and subbing them and seeing what they're getting for what kind of grades that they might potentially get. The other thing is that you have a lot of people in both TCG and the sports card hobby that are subbing cards that really shouldn't be subbed. And I'm talking like base rookies from Series 1 tops, high number and unnumbered parallels from Series 1 tops, cards like that. And the return on investment, even if you do get a 9.5 or a 10, the value you add to that card really shouldn't be all that much. So I think, I think it's probably going to, as long as more and more TCG is being submitted, and as more and more base rookies and base cards and filler inserts from flagship products keep getting submitted, PSA is going to keep having these problems, and they're just going to keep having these backlogs.
Yeah, and back to the TCG, I mean, are they also in the space now where their hobby is so hot that they're essentially grading the cards that are equivalent to 2021 Gavin Luxes that are now coasters?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. A couple of things. Way back in the day when we at Beckett were starting Beckett grading, we in our price guide area would just say, logically, you should not submit a card for grading. And there would be some exceptions, like if you wanted to get any Mantle playing year card slab, that was fine. Those type of exceptions. But you should not be grading a card, or you should only pay 15% of the value of the card to get it graded. One of the great strengths of the PSA registry has also turned out to be one of the great weaknesses of the PSA registry, where that simple mathematical equation is gone, because if you think you have a perfect 88 tops that you think you get a 10 on it, you were sending it in even back in the day. Well, when it was $5 or $6 for a card, it didn't sound so bad. Now, whatever price level it is, it's not good, but we are used to that. And the other problem is PSA has always scaled up in modern days. I was reading and people forgot there's an office in New Jersey where they grade cards. They've got an office in Boca, Florida, near SGC, if not in the same building SGC was in. They've got their main hub in California. I believe they have offices in England, Germany, and Japan. I could be wrong trying to keep up with what all their foreign offices are. So they have been scaling up for years, and they're still getting overwhelmed. And it's a very tough business decision. We have to stop the spigot. Otherwise, at some point, you're pricing everybody out. So right now, we have to do a short term of pricing everybody out so we can get back to where we can start pricing everybody in. And we went through this in 2021. PSA calls. They had, there were famous photos of the floor of PSA offices with nothing but unopened boxes of cards. So we've been here before. We've seen this movie before. I thought it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, as it turned out. So I don't think it's going to be a mistake again to put a kibosh on lower tiered submissions for a while to catch the backlog. And here's the other thing. People say, oh, why don't they hire more graders? It's not easy. Grading is not easy. Okay, maybe if you're doing modern 2026 cards, grading is easy. But a lot of stuff it's not easy for. And you have to know what to look for in a whole group of sets. And therefore, scaling up is a lot more difficult than you think it is. Even if graders are getting paid good money, it's still more difficult because sometimes you can't be a dealer, or you can't even have the side hustle if you're working for PSA. And so you have to consider all that before you go to work for anybody.
John, I just
saw you added,
put in, okay.
Yeah.
This is a donut graph from the website GemRate. I don't know if you guys are familiar with GemRate, but they actually go
I get the monthly report just for curiosity's sake.
So this graph shows all the cards that have been graded by the 4 major grading houses over the last 30 days. And as you can see, this teal colored, for those of you listening, you can't see this, but almost 2/3 of the cards that they've graded over the last 30 days have been TCGs. And then baseball is second with about maybe 10%, basketball about 7 or 8. So yeah, this is the problem now, is the TCG hobby has discovered grading and is now swamping the major grading houses, especially PSA, with their cards. This is the reason why you're seeing this pause here.
And that's what
you can see they've graded almost 1.5 million TCG cards in the last 30 days.
Oh
And
yeah,
for
out of the
baseball, it's
2.2
under
million total.
230. Yeah.
That I wonder, are the TCG folks going to be as finicky about the grading company as sports card people tend to be? And will we see another major player grading TCG soon? This is kind of the time where we ended up having all kinds of new grading companies in 2021 pop up, with like HGA having buzz for a while.
I'm surprised there isn't one grading company out there that says they will not accept sports cards. We're just going to specialize in TCGs. And I'm also not surprised now that PSA owns Beckett and SGC that they take one of those, maybe SGC, and make it exclusively for sports cards and get out of TCG.
Yeah, I guess what's coming next is probably CGC getting overwhelmed here soon. Next.
Don't forget Tag, which is very heavily helped by AI, had to pause submissions too. And I'll wager CGC, if they get inundated, they'll have to do something similar because the manpower and woman power is just not out there to grade all these cards. Even if it's the easiest thing in the world where you open the packs and you send them in, there's still a huge process. I mean, we forget, but the process is, I wonder how many hands have to touch a card between the time it's opened at PSA, actually received at PSA, and the time it's sent back to you. I'll wager you're in the mid double digits, like 15 to 20 different people are handling some part of the process at PSA. I do not know this, but I know when I bring my car in for servicing at my dealership, it's 13 to 15 people who handle something about my car when I bring it in. I also know a local mechanic, and if I bring it to the local mechanic, there are 2 people. So there is that. But there are processes, and there are processes, and there are processes. It's not just like the boxes. The box is opened, the box is received, person brings it to the office, they open it, somebody opens it, the grader opens it, okay, grades the card, gives them to the verifier. There's a lot more processes than that along the way. Was payment submitted? Was how many, does the amount of cards match what's in the submission? If sometimes you can catch there might be a mistake in the submission. And that's just one part of it. Then it goes to where it's ready in the queue to be graded. And then after it's graded, it has to be what they call assembled. And then it has to be shipped out. There's a lot of processes involved. And we sometimes forget that.
Consensus all over the chat is, the collectors don't care, because I don't think, out of that 2 million, how much percentage is even collectors? I think, the vast majority of anybody sending these days is going to be somebody sending to resell. But and Chris C., I think you can substitute the word monopoly in this statement with company, unless it's your local mom and pop, business. So, because companies are in the business to take your money. So, it's time to buy stock in Mag Pro is a comment. Everybody's talking about enjoying their raw cards. What is the minimum PSA tier now?
I think it's express during the shutdown. I believe it's the $85 express.
Ouch. Yeah. So that's somebody sending in a really high dollar card that wants to resell it.
Okay, 60. Okay, what? Okay, whether it's 69, 85, whatever. I don't know if we have the numbers. Here's the thing. Other thing to remember: the national is X number of days away. I think we're 60 days away, give or take. The other thing to remember is we all thought there would be nobody on the PSA lines when they had a shutdown during the national. And the only thing you could do was like $150 submissions. Those lines were out the door. Guess what? Those lines will be out the door again. I mean, we've seen this movie before. This is not a new issue. And I saw a comment about how many people handle a card. It's not necessarily when I go to the dealership how many people handle the paperwork, but you get greeted by a person when you come in. There's another person that drives the car the short distance to where the mechanic works on the car. The mechanic works on the car. Then another person drives it, and they wash your car at the end. I know this sounds strange. And then the person working with you comes and tells you during the processes what you need to get done. And there's also when you check out how much, and I'm missing a couple steps, but this is what they told me at the dealership, that there was about 13 to 15 people who handle some point of your servicing at the car, because it's not just drop off the car and somebody brings it in or you bring it into where it works on. It's a whole thing. So that's what I'm talking about with that. And yes, it is interesting. And, you might say, okay, is there a way to be more efficient with what you deal with? I guarantee you every company works on being more efficient, because for Nat Turner and his group of people who are in the ownership of PSA, the more efficient you are, the more profit you make. So trust me, it makes sense for PSA to be efficient.
We got a question for you. If that many hands are touching it, is it an efficiency problem?
My car usually gets serviced on time. It's just they have their system down pat. We're used to, many of us just go to card. Chris talks about going to a card show today or tomorrow. I don't know if it's both days or just today.
It's the whole weekend.
All weekend. So it was all weekend. Chris is talking about going to a card show. That's the very efficient. You walk in. I don't know if it's at a mall where it's free or whether sometimes Rehoboth used to have mall shows that were free. I don't know if this is at a mall that it's free or whether
no. It's in town at a convention center. So
okay, so you're gonna have to pay to get in. So there's a little more friction, but not terrible. So you basically have about 3 or 4 people you have to deal with just to deal with the show. And if they have concessions, maybe 5. So you have your hot dogs, chips, soda, or whatever they have for lunch there. I mean, I can tell you, because of the nature of how our synagogue show is set up, we can do the show with about 3 people during the show. But I like to have 3 people there. I'm sitting at the front desk. We have a little mini kitchen because being a synagogue, there are some dietary things. And I like to have one floater around in case something comes up on the floor during the show. And then we need a few people to set up and break down. There's always more than you realize that's involved. And it's a hard concept to realize it's more involved than you realize.
All right. Any other thoughts on this, or are we ready to move on?
Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think we can have some more fun topics. I think everybody has their own opinion, and just the fact that I do not own a graded card does not mean that I don't respect the work that all the graded companies do. And eventually this may break, the fever may break, but it's certainly not showing any signs of breaking for now.
All right. Yeah, this next item is that in 2026 Tops, they put a redemption card for a 52 Mantle that is supposed to be graded. And that redemption card is currently in auction for golden, which I can share where that's at right now. But so they're literally just putting up the redemption card that doesn't have any indication of what the grade of the Mantle is. And I don't see that there's going to be any markings on it after it's redeemed that indicates it's this special one of one. So, I mean, what value does this have? Are they just gambling that it's going to be a higher grade than a one? I don't get it.
Yeah. How do we know that Topps even has in hand a 52 Topps Mickey Mantle that's graded that they're going to give away? Have they even bought this card yet?
Chris, if I remember correctly, they have purchased every one, and it's good. There's going to be some in Series 2 and some in an update. If I remember, they have purchased every card. They're not going to leave it to chance.
Okay, so they've bought the card. What do we know? What do we know about the grade of the card, though? Because right now the bid is $79,000 with a month to go. You know, and I know the difference between a 2 or a 3 and a 7 and an 8 is probably, I don't know, maybe $1 million. If this redemption card closes at close to $1 million and the card that Topps delivers is a 3, well, the person who bought this redemption card's probably out close to $1 million in value. So what's going on here with the grade? Why don't we know what the grade is?
Chris,
That kind of leads me to believe that Topps doesn't have this card in hand to give away.
I will wager they do have the card.
Okay, but they haven't revealed the grade, though.
But yeah, I don't see how anybody bids in an auction when you don't have all the information of what you're getting.
Exactly.
But I will tell you, if you have $1 million, Chris, if you have $1 million to bid in an auction, the odds are pretty good that you have more money than the three of us combined. And $1 million to you could be like $100 to us, where it's just the number.
Yeah, there we go. What if it's a BVG 1?
Yeah. All it says is graded, not graded by whom. Although I do think Topps did say that these are going to be PSA graded. But again,
but even still,
you know what you're getting. It could be a 2 or a 3. It could be a 7 or an 8. I don't expect them to give away a 9 or a 10, by the way.
A few months ago, Josh Luber wrote his second manifesto. This manifesto was about what he called, if I remember the term, blind boxification of the hobby. And basically, the whole point was something exactly like this. This is part of the blind boxification. And that's part of what the hobby is. And we don't like it because we're all thinking logically. But anybody who's bidding on this card is thinking, okay, I'm going to get a special card. It's going to have notation. This is the one pulled from the pack. And if it's a really high level card, I win. And if it's a low level card, I have a great story to tell. And as I said, I guarantee you anybody who's bidding on this can afford what they're doing.
There was a question in the chat. I have to respond to this.
What time?
It was by 8 Skep 1 Productions. Why does it matter if they bought the grade? Why can't someone buy the redemption for the excitement of the redemption? Why does it have to be an analysis? Well, here's the thing. If you're spending this much money on a card, you should at least know what card you're getting, do you not? I mean, yes, it does say you're getting a graded 52 Mantle, but again, you don't know what grade it is. I mean, if you just want a 52 Mantle, yeah, you can get a raw one in pretty piss poor condition for like what, $10,000 or $15,000. But
I mean, hell,
in
there
a
was that one that
situation
was
like this, you would hope to know what it is that you're paying $79,000 plus for. I mean, if all Topps is going to deliver you is a 2 or a 3, I mean, you've been made a sucker out of. You've been hosed. So yeah, that's kind of why it does matter what grade it is. So,
Well, one other point about analysis is that everybody has an opinion about things in the hobby, and some people look at things analytically. It's not an issue to look at something analytically. Now, when we go to a show and we purchase cards, and I'm a value box diver, and I think Chris is too. Chris has a want list. I don't have a want list, but both of us are looking. We're not going to buy an 88 Topps common card in the dollar bins, but we might buy an 88 Tiffany Tom Glavine card out of the dollar bin, or 88 Tiffany Roberto Alomar, traded Roberto Alomar, because we know there's a value to that. So there is analysis. There's even analysis when you purchase a card. So everybody has some analysis thereof.
Well, we still have 29 days away. Any guesses of what the final price is going to be on this?
I gave up in 1991 making predictions on card values when I told New York Magazine that the Wagner that was being auctioned as part of the PSA Wagner that McNall and Gretzky bought was going to go for about 200,000. And when it went for 450,000, I said, my prediction days are done. I do not understand what's going on. So I have made sure I have not made predictions on card value since 1991.
Well, we got a first prediction, 645,000. So bargain.
I think that's a pretty good over under. I think this will sell for mid 6 figures. Again, if Topps actually gets around to revealing what the grade is on this card, I think that'll play a role in its final price. So anybody from Topps is listening, and I know you are, what is the grade on this card? That is, if you have it.
Because I caution anybody bidding on this because of the fact that I feel like if it was a halfway decent level grade on this, they would have included that in their marketing. They would have marketed the hell out of it being a mid-grade or higher card for this card.
Yeah. Have any of the other redemption cards been pulled and mentioned a grade on it? Are you aware, either one of you aware of? Because this is the first time. I know there were maybe redemption cards for like 24 other prominent Topps cards off of that best 75 list that they came up with.
I think I've seen one or two that have surfaced, but I'm not positive.
Okay. So,
as I said, I don't pay attention enough in that world, and I'm not on Twitter ever since some of the changes have been made. I am very little on Twitter nowadays, and like for example, I can't post any internet links, and I don't want to go through the world of doing webcasts or doing links from something. So I just skip being on Twitter, so I miss a lot of the Twitter stuff.
okay.
Yeah, the fan in the stands is bringing up the exact point I was thinking, is that the redemption card itself might be a 1-on-1, but if they haven't done anything special with the slab, how does that even maintain any kind of provenance? So,
Yeah, I mean, they're just telling you you're getting a graded card. You don't know what grade it is, and there's nothing notating it on it. So,
but all right.
yeah, I think we've beaten this to death. So,
What's interesting, if you think about it, with all the people breaking and all that, so few of these cards have surfaced. And that tells me that they're still sitting in packs. And remember, if I remember correctly, Topps has a 10-year redemption now. So you might be seeing these cards pop up 3, 4, 5 years from now.
maybe.
Oh yeah. Well, as many packs as are being produced of the base product these days, they could be unopened for a really long time. So, but all right, not on the rundown there, but since it's coming up and Chris is big on soccer, we thought we'd inject some World Cup into the mix. I guess the few weeks of every 3 years where Americans actually realize that
Are you excited?
The world plays soccer.
Are you excited about the paying 4 figures for a ticket to see Cabo Verde versus the Ivory Coast on a Wednesday afternoon? Nobody's excited about that. Nobody's excited about paying $98 for a train ride to the Meadowlands. Ugh. This World Cup is turning into a total you-know-what show with the price gouging going on. And I understand why FIFA's doing it, because us Americans, we're kind of used to paying top dollar for sporting events. But this is just kind of ridiculous with some of these prices. I mean, I'd love to go to a couple of World Cup matches. There's about 6 group stage matches taking place in Philadelphia and a round of 16 match, but I can't afford to go to that. I can't afford to pay close to $1,000 for an upper deck seat. I mean, I can't. And especially this year, the way this kind of, I don't want to get too political here, but this kind of malaise that's kind of grown over the country this year. I mean, we're about to celebrate our 250th birthday, and nobody seems to be happy about that either. So, as for the actual tournament, I really hope that this is the summer that Americans, civilians, people that don't ordinarily follow soccer, finally get soccer. I hope this is the year that the U.S. does well. They should be able to get out of the knockout round. I mean, get to the knockout rounds. They were drawn in a pretty easy group with Paraguay and Australia. And because the knockout round's been the tournament's been expanded from 32 to 48 teams.
Oh yeah.
The knockout round's been expanded from 16 teams to 32. So the US, if they get out of the group stage, they should face a pretty weak team in that first knockout game. It should be the second knockout game in the round of 16 is when the real tournaments are going to begin. So they may have to face a country in that round of 16 against one of the traditional European powers like Belgium in 2014 or the Netherlands 4 years ago of that caliber. And I think this team with a home field advantage, they would be able to give a team of that caliber a good run in a potential round of 16 games. So getting to the round of 16 for the U.S., I think, should be the minimum for a successful tournament. So I don't know if you guys follow soccer. John, I know you're in Portland. I've been to Portland. The Timbers are big. You got a nice old-fashioned soccer ground and Municipal or whatever sponsor they're calling it now.
Yeah, they took the stadium and turned it into all soccer that's there downtown. So we used to have the ability to watch AAA baseball a decade ago, but they converted the stadium to be only soccer. So
they did a real good job of it. So if I say so myself.
But I must say the only time I ever went to see them play was when I first moved here and didn't realize what the team names were between the baseball team and the soccer team, and inadvertently bought tickets to the soccer game. So I intended to go to a AAA baseball game.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We are lucky here in the Dallas area. We do have a very nice facility, and they've added a whole bunch of soccer related fields right near, I don't know the name of the stadium. I'm sure it's some corporate name, but where FC Dallas plays up in Frisco. And my wife's cousin's son was playing in I believe 16 and under elite team tournament a few weeks ago. They did I forgot to ask my wife to ask her cousin how they did in Salt Lake City Memorial Day weekend, but they did win their division, and they moved to the finals, so to speak, the final rounds. But I will tell you that one thing that really interested me was the kid had a motor. He could move up to 21 miles per hour, which is only a couple miles an hour less than the pure sprinter speed. The other thing was the sheer volume of people who were going to these matches as recruiters. As we were coming in, we saw people wearing, and I think it's Clemson, I'm not positive, Clemson soccer shirts. And we asked them, I think if I remember, you guys have a pretty good program. And he goes, yeah, we've won 2 national titles in the last 5 years. And then I overheard a conversation where they were trying to recruit somebody to go to wherever juniors and seniors in high school can go. And the person there already said, no, we've already signed up with this. And they said, well, we're part of whatever European league it is, and keep us in mind. I mean, the sheer amount of people who know about soccer was just flooring to me. How big it was and how many non-family people came to watch these really good kids play. But that's sort of an aside, because FC Dallas is a very affordable game to go to. It's a very affordable match. It's not, and we're also in Frisco. We have the Frisco Rough Riders minor league baseball team. Again, it's a reasonably affordable night at the ballpark. And that's what Chris is talking about. I'm not going to go to Jerry World to watch a game because it's just going to be out of control. And like Chris, I do not feel like spending four figures to watch a soccer match. It's not something on my bucket list, so to speak. Now, if somebody hands me 2 tickets, we'll go. Failing that, not so much.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks coming into Dallas, Fort Worth area for the World Cup are going to be in for a bit of a culture shock, because I believe Arlington, Texas is the largest city in America without a public transportation system. So just getting to the match is going to be...
That's not really true anymore. It was a big thing a few years ago, but it's nowhere near where it should be. But there are some small selected bus routes now in Arlington.
Oh, okay.
So they do.
But they don't have a direct rail.
No, they don't have a direct. They don't have a direct rail, but they do have some public transportation now. And one of the reasons that they never got it is Jerry and all the people, they don't want to build the trains because it takes money away from the parking, making all that parking money at the stadiums. Let's be honest. I would be thrilled with a train ride to Globe Life Field or AT&T Stadium. Those would be wonderful. I grew up in the New York area. I could take the train to the subway to Yankee Stadium or Shea Stadium. Now Citi Field, I believe it is in New York. I can't do that going to the World Cup. There used to be bus routes that took you, if you knew how to do it, actually you could get, and it would be a small walk, and you could walk to where they're playing the World Cup. I did that a couple of times when the New York Cosmos were playing soccer. I actually knew how to take the bus into the city, then take a bus to basically Giant Stadium at the time where the Cosmos played, and then we could take the bus back. So you could do that, but you had to know which bus route it was that dropped you off within walking distance.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to take the bus to MetLife Stadium or excuse me, the New York Stadium. Can't call them by their sponsors. And you can't even drive to the stadium because FIFA is taking a lot of the parking spaces that are used during NFL season for tailgating and creating a security buffer. So for a lot of these stadiums that they're having the World Cup at, you won't be able to drive there and park even if you wanted to. So,
well, they will have shuttle services. So you don't have to walk. They will.
Yeah, and you're going to have to pay up the what for that. So
yeah, I know. When I go to Rough Riders games, we usually park at the mall. We call it's the mall. It's Stonebriar Mall. There's a place you can park, and you walk across the street to the game. It's a little bit extra to walk. When I say it's a little bit extra, it's a little bit of a hike, but not terribly. And you walk, and you don't pay. But the parking's only $10 for the Rough Riders, so I don't consider that so bad. Folks, Chris is like that a lot of the time, so it's not the wrong side of the bed.
You must be newer. Now you add into that my normal surly behavior, the fact that I've been rehabbing my arm for the last month, and I've been unemployed for over a year. So, yeah, I have
on the card front.
On the wrong side of the bed.
So on the card front, does that mean there'll be a momentary surge of soccer cards, and Jeff Wilson will be making a video talking about how the soccer cards are on fire?
I will say, when the 2022 World Cup was played, was done, at ComC, because we were setting up every show at the time at the Dallas Card Show, the sheer volume of soccer cards we got before the World Cup, you would not believe just how intense, how many soccer cards we got. We got one soccer card so expensive that Angela and Stefan flew out to Washington to hand deliver the card. It was some Lionel Messi card, I believe, autographed number to 7. I think it may have had a jersey, but that card was so expensive. We just said, it was like, we're not taking any chances with that going in the mail. It's being flown out. But that's how intense the soccer collectors were before the World Cup. I'm sure the same thing is happening again. And one side note on this, if you noticed, Fanatics has announced that beginning 2031, so Panini will have one more run at it, they're basically taking over everything relating to the World Cup when it comes to cards and stickers. And you can say pros or cons, but I think overall Fanatics has done an even better job than Panini did, and Panini did a good job with this of increasing interest in the hobby with all the connections they have and all the tentacles they have. So I suspect the 2034 World Cup, you will see more cards than ever before. And one thing to remember is Fanatics Fest in New York, which is also the same weekend as the West Coast Card Show and the Dallas Card Show. So it's if you really want to have fun, if you really have money, you can crisscross the country and hit 3 and probably see several thousand tables of cards in a weekend before the National and see all sorts of the country while you're at it. Is they scheduled Fanatics Fest for the final weekend, which is at whatever Giant Stadium is called now. And it's deliberately scheduled because that was World Cup Finals weekend.
Yep.
And
the thing with soccer cards, too, is that I don't think people understand is that up until 2014, I mean, that was the year Panini came out with World Cup Prism. Most of the soccer releases were either stickers or TCGs, like Panini Adrenaline or Topps Match Attacks. American-style sports cards were not really a thing in soccer until recently. So, and by American card sets,
yes, they
I mean,
were a thing, but they weren't a thing in America.
No, they weren't a thing at all.
Well, England has A and BC, which is like a top subsidiary, did soccer cards for 20 years.
I'm talking about card sets with like 50 different levels of parallels.
Oh, okay. But I'm just pointing out that there was
jersey cards.
I was just pointing out there was plenty of cards being done.
Inserts. Yeah, they've had tobacco cards and gum cards for years, but in recent years, most soccer releases in Europe and Latin America were either stickers or TCGs until really recently. So,
all right. We're getting close to the bottom of the hour, but instead of this baseball talk, actually, I think a bigger hobby thing is tonight with the Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. If Wembanyama actually eliminates, the Flop City Thunder and wins his first title, I mean, his cards are just going to be nuts.
They already are. They already
are. A lot
are.
of it's priced in, so.
But I will say that Wemby reminds me of watching a very young Lou Alcindor before he changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He is the number one draft choice in 1969. The Bucks get to the playoffs, but they're not yet ready to beat the Knicks. And the Knicks wipe them out and then go on to win the title against the Lakers in Game 7 with the famous game with Willis Reed hobbling in, hitting the first 2 shots of the game. And basically Game 7, Walt Frazier plays a typical Walt Frazier game that everybody else thinks is the game of his life. He was a little better than he usually was, but Walt Frazier is the greatest Knick of all time and showed why in that Game 7.
But apparently I got the wrong we on that comment.
The next year, the Bucks win the title. Wemby was second year for Mr. Alcindor, and then it took to the Lakers and getting Magic and getting there. But my point is that Wemby reminds me of the second year Lou Alcindor taking the Bucks to the title. And I can't say they're going to win Game 7 on the road. There's no such, you never know what's going to happen in Game 7, but they're there. And Wemby reminds me of Alcindor 1971. And by the way, there is a YouTube video, I'm sure, of the game the Bucks played the Lakers in, I believe, January of 71. Was 72. So, I mean, you can see a young enough Lou Alcindor where the Bucks end the Lakers' 33-game winning streak. That was like a huge thing that I think ABC saved the game on video, and you can still see that today.
I mean, I'm obviously too young for young Lou Alcindor there, but to me, it's Ralph Sampson with a deeper range shot. So
that was an amazing shot.
The one thing that I can't wait to see, regardless of who wins tonight, are all the celebrities that show up at Knick games having to travel to San Antonio or Oklahoma City and adjusting to life in middle America, like Chalamet, Spike, Fat Joe, the whole gang in like on the Riverwalk in San Antonio, just chilling for an afternoon before a match. So
well, it's funny.
That's what I want to see.
It's funny because The Atlantic had a story a couple weeks ago because a Yasiel Puig Topps Now card in like PSA 10 sold for like $60,000. And the reason was there's Kobe in the background.
Yeah.
And I mean, and they had other cards listed, and I checked the ComC database. We had every one they listed correctly noted in the ComC database, so I didn't have to add anything. But the NBA has a lot. You do get a lot of background photos of cards. Even the Melendez brothers showed up on the back of on the background of a Mark Jackson card.
And people didn't realize it was them for like 30 years.
And now it's a $10 card of literally a 10-cent card. So it goes to show that we're still learning stuff about the hobby. Even the overproduced era, we're still learning stuff 30 years later. And Mike, that's actually one of the more interesting comments made today. He was having a great rookie year. 8 to 12 weeks during the middle of your rookie year when you've hit 20 homers already as a rookie is a devastating blow to the White Sox. Oh, and I'll be back in a second.
Well, we're almost at an hour. Do you got anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, I do find it interesting that it's become a pervasive conversation with the flopping now, and I hope the league can put a stop to it, is all for the NBA's sake.
Yeah.
And it's almost creating a villain arc for the Thunder.
Flop, you get a yellow card.
Yeah. But
you flop, you get a foul.
Okay, back.
All right.
All right, you're back in time to wrap things up. So any last word for the folks at home, Uncle Rich?
No, I've already said what I was doing today. In fact, I'm going to head out for my walk, grab a small lunch, go to trade day, and later, and just be out and about.
All right. How about you, Chris?
And in just about a few minutes or so, the Champions League final, Arsenal and PSG. So my afternoon is covered.
Name. You can call them by their full name.
What?
PSG.
Paris Saint-Germain. But PSG is just a little, people know.
All right. I have a fun weekend of getting ready for house guests for the following weekend with my middle son graduating high school.
Congratulations on that. Where's he going to go to college?
He is going to start out at junior college to make sure he finds the right path first.
I will tell you, we have, switching to a quick thing on that. I used to set up at college fairs, and we have a really good community college about 5 minutes from where I live. And I used to tell people, if you don't know and you're not sure, the 2 years at the community college will cost you about $2,000. Your son or daughter can live at home, and then 99% of what they have can transfer to any other school, and you've saved money, you've saved the college debt, and you're on a good path. So I am a big fan of good community or junior colleges.
And Portland area has a great network of them where it's they're all linked up with Portland Community College, where different campuses offer different specialty items. So it's kind of cool how they've set it up. But.
Well, what's interesting is this college I'm talking about has a top 10. They only at one point, I think they've added a few more things at one point. Their only 4-year program was a nursing program, which was actually a top 10 nursing program in the country.
Nice. All right. Thanks to everyone in the chat who participated. We had quite the varied sort of topics today, but everybody out there, tomorrow night I am hosting the For Collectors live stream, of which I've got a panel of David Chase, Dylan Double D Vintage, and Christopher Missouri, in which with all this talk lately on collector channels of condition and deformities and flaws, I am inviting them to bring on their cards that have deformities and flaws, and it'll be a parade of those cards that we still love. So,
just one quick comment on Yankees cards. Texas is starting to expand for normal high schools, their trade school programs as well, which I think is well worthwhile. So I think people are learning that the trade schools in high school is really a great option for many kids.
Oh, yeah. But everybody, thanks. We'll see you next time here on For Collectors.